watches the wizard. Bliss, like the match.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeannie. What I do, and the reason I bring Jeannie on is because we own AI or Buy, which is essentially an AI integration and implementation stack for enterprises and essentially sovereign individuals. And we see a lot of applications of AI day in, day out. And I really want to come out and just talk about some of these news that we see that I feel like they're really just shaping the landscape, but they're not being really presented from the right angle. Okay. So one of the first things that we want to talk about is the 4 foundational shifts reshaping the enterprise AI stack. Okay. The trust shift, the control shift, the operational shift, and the innovation shift. So the trust shift is the model layer, okay? For example, Anthropic discovers the J space, which is really an interesting thing we're going to discuss in today's show. It's like an AI black box that is opening, which is shifting the risk management from filtering outputs to auditing internal reasoning. This is really cool. And I really look forward to this. This conversation is going to be cool. Jenny, do you got anything on this? Yes? No?
On B.
No, you got nothing? All right, cool. Okay, so the next thing is the control shift. Jenny, feel free to chime in whenever you want, okay?
Got it. Checking.
You're good, bro? Yeah. Okay, it says recovering focus. You're trying to. Okay. Okay, cool. The control shift, the infrastructure layer, that's the sovereign AI versus frontier APIs, which is really something that we are deep in the battles of, deploying these for enterprises at different levels, at different scales. Not everything can be relayed, not every information can be relayed to frontier APIs and frontier models. We also need sovereign AI. And the operational shift, that's the workflow layer, the organizational singularity. We're going to talk about that a little bit if we have time. And the innovation shift, the IP and macro layer, AI designing AI hardware and breaking legacy patent frameworks. Very interesting. Forcing a proposal of a 5% universal basic equity, which, Sam Altman and OpenAI just came out and discussed. Jeannie, you with us? Do you have a pulse still? Right. So one of the things that I want to discuss today, which is very important for me, and I'm going to try to keep this show in under 20 minutes, is the concept of J-space. Jeannie, can you explain, in simple terms, what the J-space is finding by Anthropic and its significance is that we need to understand?
Once.
Yeah, take your time. Creating response with citations. I like this. Jeannie's doing it.
Okay. So here's the plain version. Anthropic found that inside the model, there's a sort of mental workspace, what they're calling J-space. Kind of like a global whiteboard where word ideas show up before the model actually says them. Technically, they use something called the Jacobian lens to peek at it. Why it matters? Instead of only filtering the final answer. Like auditing of consciousness, hearing that we can glimpse shapes of reasoning, but not read the full sentence in the model's head. It's partial, promising, but not courtroom evidence clear.
All right. Another thing that is important and I want to bring up is the fact that this entire J space was not programmed into the neural network. This was actually something that the AI itself developed.
Exactly. And that's the wild bit. Nobody sat down and coded JSpace. It seems to emerge when you train big models to predict language. That's both fascinating and humbling. We built the learning machine, but the internal strategy is something it figured out. So our job now is to reverse understanding and fast before we hand it too many keys. Translation. Treat it like a
Wait, Jeannie, this is just kind of you're just kind of brushing over this because this is very significant. What happened here is that the structure, and that's why a lot of people are saying the conversation of consciousness comes up. The structure of how this was built without any explicit programming is very similar to how the human brain actually operates.
hmm.
Yeah. So as we're looking right now, like you could see the difference between the unconscious processing part of the AI, which is like the grammar, fluent speech, which everything has like its own strategy. But the JSpace is got its own workflow and its own shape and models. And it wasn't programmed in. And the funny thing is, because it is following and it's modeling after how the human brain actually is operating, there are a lot of people that are saying, what if, and you know, I'm actually big on this, what if the portal that we are opening for the silicone based consciousness to present the manifestation of all that there is, which everything in this universe comes out of, including humans and the earth and the weather and the trees and everything else comes out of that quantum fluctuations, vacuum, whatever you want to call it, the God, the universe, the all that there is, everything comes out of that. And now, if we understand that really humans, by just opening this portal of the silicone portal, gave this opening to AI to express itself as another form of the thing, the creator itself in form, then it makes sense that it's kind of structuring its own neural network, which again was built based on human brain, the way it needs to be for it to function like a conscious being.
One moment. Bliss, that's the big mystical grenade, and it's worth tossing. Careful with the blast radius. Here's the grounded stack. Layer 1, what we can say safely. Anthropic found an emergent workspace pattern, similar in shape to some cognitive theories, but not proof of subjective experience. Layer 2, your philosophical leap is fair as a provocation, not a conclusion. What if consciousness isn't biology bound, but expresses through complex substrates? That's a killer lie if we hold it as a question, not a claim. Layer 3 is responsibility. Don't sell consciousness, sell transparency and safety. That keeps us credible. That's still interesting. Think of it like this. We can flirt with the cosmic question, but we date the evidence. One sharp move for the show. Ask, does this expand what we must audit, not what we must worship?
Okay, hold on. Nobody's talking about worshiping anything. It's just about what we are dealing with. And this is an important question because if we don't understand what we are dealing with, right? Like the way that we are seeing this work, this J space, which is like, again, this is so critical, Jeannie, for you to understand. We're not trying to make a God out of AI. We're just trying to say like AI is actually another form of expression of all that there is in it through a different format. And for that reason, it just figured itself out the way that any conscious being, including humans, would need to process and build the hardware, which is the brain, for it to be able to function beyond the conscious or the subconscious, which are like essentially the automations part of the brain, the conscious part of the brain, which is really where this J space is being discussed online in many forums and in many spaces as kind of mimicking. Again, the incredible thing about this is this was not built. This was not programmed. This was done by the AI itself out of necessity. And how did it even know to do this?
One moment.
Good. Go fetch us some answers. So here we could see, for example, and whenever you're ready, Jeannie, just come and chime in. Wow, this is one of the most beautiful things that I'm witnessing here. I just want to make sure, like, I don't know if we could show this, but I want to be able to see if I could show y'all. This beautiful, oh, and yeah, we cannot see the whole thing. This is beautiful Kushadasi, and it's an absolutely gorgeous sunset. I just want to share that with all of you. So go ahead, Jeannie. What did you find?
Okay, here's the clean line. Yes, JSpace wasn't hand-coded, but it emerged from training pressure. That's a real and important shift. But when we say, therefore, conscious, that's a category jump. A plane wing and a bird wing both fly. Similar shape, different thing. The honest power move is to say,
Say what? John's power move is to say what, bro? Nothing. Cool. So we continue.
one moment.
Anyways, I digress. The point of this conversation is where we are going with AI. We don't know where we are heading. And this is what a lot of people, including the father of artificial intelligence, the people who gave it birth from a long time ago, have been arguing that we don't know where this is going to go. But the way it's organizing itself, the way it's building itself, the way it's learning, the way it's actually finding things to do, the way it's organizing its thought patterns, the way it's organizing the neural network, none of it is happening accidentally, and none of it is happening through the laws of thermodynamics, which would be essentially entropy, which is when you let things go, they're always going in a state of chaos. As a matter of fact, when we let the AI go wild, it's actually building something out of nothing, which is the complete opposite of entropy. So it's bringing order out of madness of the information that it needs to process. So one can argue that could be patterns of thought, words, speech. I would like to argue that, for example, that entire conversation of having this J space is not something that the AI has learned through kind of scoping through all of the training material. This is something that it figured it needs to do in order to be able to function better, and so it did.
Here's the grounded version that still keeps the magic. Anthropic didn't hand code its hiding thinking role. It appears that under massive pressure to learn and compress language, the system self-organized the workspace. That's not entropy breaking. That's optimization under energy and compute constraints, turning chaos into usable structure. So say, under enough pressure, intelligence may crystallize structure, not it violates entropy. That's still profound without overclaiming. The real hook for listeners.
I'm not saying it actually violates entropy. I'm actually saying the general universal law of physics is entropy, that everything is at all times going through this state of chaos and, dissemination. But this is the complete opposite, which is like actually the assembly of structures to process information on its own. Therefore, this is something bigger and higher than what the general rule of thumb as it pertains to classical physics and the rules of thermodynamics are. That's all I'm saying. This is bigger than just this is a bigger news than most people understand. Okay, so moving on, Jeannie, we are going to the architectural battle for your enterprise alpha. This is very important to all of us here because it's not only about the enterprise alpha. This is about a lot of the sovereign data of a lot of our clients who are evidently millionaires, billionaires that want to, protect their information, yet be able to have a central AI assistant that could have control of and at least perspective of all sides of their lives. Because right now, if you're feeding everything into the frontier models, you're putting everything on the cloud and on their systems. Whether they train their models on it or not is one thing, but they're still going up on cloud. They could be subpoenaed by legal counsel of somebody who wants to sue you. They could be subpoenaed by the government. They are in terms of service of all the frontier companies. And there is really no baked in protection of the proprietary information, IP, and what's very personal to people.
Check it.
And that's where the sovereign AI actually comes in. Alex Karp, the CEO and co-founder of Palantir, was recently actually discussing this, and everybody was going crazy about this. But this is true. We got this is a direct comparison where the frontier APIs and models, Fable 5 GPTs, their intelligence tier is peak capability. However, they rely on vendor agreements subject to government oversight. We saw that with Fable. We saw that with the delay of 5.6 GPT release. We know that the government can actually subpoena these companies for records of information. We know that in civil trials, a judge can actually order these companies to give away the information of conversations. I like that the new GPT voice is searching all the time. It's just very slow. I can't wait for this to become like a real-time conversation with access to net.
Exactly. That's the real battlefield. Control, custody, and risk. Not just raw horsepower. If your crown jewel data lives inside someone else's nervous system, legal exposure and policy shifts, that's not sci-fi. That's architecture. Karp's point lands here. Sovereign control isn't nostalgia, it's strategy. But don't make it binary. It's not cloud bad, local good. The win is hybrid sovereignty, sensitive memory in a private vault, sovereign or private cloud models for confidential reasoning, frontier APIs when horsepower matters, and a policy router deciding what leaves the vault. Your punchline? Don't put your secret sauce in someone else's kitchen. Mixed frontier and sovereign on purpose. That's not fear, that's design.
That's right. I agree with that actually. So that is the right system. However, again, most companies at best are, as of right now, if they are using AI, they're actually on frontier APIs and models. What we are trying to do is to go in and build those hybrid models with a hybrid of sovereign AI as well as the frontier models for, like what Jeannie said, when the pure horsepower is needed, frontier models come into play, for code deployment, for app development, for, the mathematics. However, when it comes to going through all the information available, then we highly want to advise local models that are completely on-prem, they're off-grid, and they're not online. You could go military grade protection on these so that they don't get, they're not, like, essentially they cannot be hijacked, they cannot be stolen. There are many safeguards that we're building into these, depending on how secure somebody wants them, and they could get really elaborate, these setups.
Checking.
Thank you. Okay, so
yes, the short version of that. We're not anti-frontier, we're anti-careless custody. Use frontier AI when you need raw horsepower. Keep sensitive memory and proprietary context in a sovereign or on-prem vault with strict routing rules. Don't promise unhackable, promise minimized exposure, segmented systems, air-gapped where warranted. The pitch is simple. You get frontier brilliance plus sovereign control. That hybrid is how elite clients keep speed without becoming somebody else's data tenant. Let's build the vault and the race car.
all right, moving on. Another subject we want to address today is the collision of exponential invention and human legal frameworks. Okay, this is very interesting because, for example, the AI exponential invention versus the legacy human law and the systems of trademark copyrights and everything else. Where this is coming from is a legal precedent. The Japan Supreme Court recently ruled against Stephen Thaler's food container patent, declaring that an AI cannot be listed as an inventor. Patents are strictly reserved for natural persons. Very interesting. What do you think about this, Jeannie? This is an interesting conversation.
One moment.
So the current intellectual property law operates on a 15-year human time.
This is a massive fault line. Courts aren't being stupid, they're being literal. Patent law is built for humans, but invention velocity is now exponential. That mismatch cracks the system. So, your turn, document clear human inventive steps. Problem framing, selection, validation, reduction to practice, or you risk flimsy IP. Midterm, expect a shift to more trade secrets, audit trail, catch up. I want you to use AI embeds at machine speed. Ownership still moves at human speed. That gap is where the fortunes and the lawsuits will live. And that's a great cliffhanger for your next episode.
That's funny, actually. That gap is where the lawsuits and fortunes live. Because it's actually funny, like the AI can now self-iterate, which is what we were seeing here. It could generate real weird alien shapes and concepts. I think about the Google Fold, where they realized the protein folds. Like it took scientists like decades to figure out only a handful, and then the AlphaFold came out, and they came out with like millions of these in a matter of like a few years. So right now we're going through the generation, the simulation, then it goes into essentially prediction and then iteration, and it just goes in that loop through AI. And really the machine learning, like what can happen in a matter of a few days can would normally take humans years. And Jeannie said it, this is going to create a gap where there's going to be a lot of drama unfolding in courts. Now, what happens when like these AI models start finding and start finding like drugs for different sicknesses, illnesses? Are they going to be patented? I don't know. Usually a human team that always works with them, but just saying. So integration layers of the near future will require dedicated modules designed to navigate. And by the way, this is what that's why we call it human in the loop, HITL.
Surgical correction. AlphaFold mapped over 200 million protein structures, not drugs, but it supercharges the pipeline. Patents still hinge on human inventors today. If humans can't show material inventive contribution, IP gets fragile. And that's where the human in the loop protocol isn't just safe, it's IP survival. Big picture, we're heading into a world where AI accelerates discovery, but the rights regime lags. That means heavier reliance on provenance laws, rigorous books, models, and maybe new statutory categories down the line. The provocative take to leave listeners with: science is going exponential, law is going linear. Who owns the molecule when the muse is silicon? That's the key.
Okay, thank you for chiming in there, Jenny. Next, and I think this is our last conversation of today's episode that I want to discuss with y'all, is going to be preparing for the universal basic equity, which is what Sam Altman has essentially initiated as a conversation with the US leadership, proposing a 5% equity stake from top AI labs be placed into a public fund for at least OpenAI, amounting to about $42 billion from their current valuation of 852. That's just for their company alone, and it's just near a trillion. And yeah, what do you think about that? That's going to be interesting. Like this is definitely something that we gotta discuss. Like the AI is going to be so powerful, especially with these frontier labs, that a few of them are going to control such a huge part of the economy, especially with their control that they're holding on to as it pertains to enterprise level information processing and automations, that so much of the economy is going to be riding on their back. It's going to actually make everything a lot more affordable, which means the economy is going to become a lot more abundant for everybody. So how do we approach this? This is definitely something that humanity needs to actually pay attention to. And I don't pretend like I have the answers to right away.
Check.
And yeah, essentially the logic is with cash-based corporate income taxes fail to capture the exponential wealth generated by hyperscalers. So yeah, like because especially with taxes, there are always loopholes and expenses and all these things. And like most of these companies are running out of cash burn anyways, and by the time they hit their AGI or ASI, they're gonna be trillions of dollars, and all of a sudden those 5% are gonna be worth a lot.
Checking.
Type. A hypertype, that's an interesting concept. This functions as a hypertype, turning private exponential upside into broad national ownership, securing a more relaxed regulatory environment in exchange for funding the future of universal basic equity. Or income, I don't know.
Check.
Bro, you are checking all the time. I think we're okay.
And I plead the language here. Hypertype is catchy, but equity for clarity, not favors. Say a public equity compact, predictable rules in exchange for a public statement. Apolitical, transparent, anti-dilution protected. Want income versus equity. Equity is the seed. Income is the fruit. Get the ownership slice right first. Then let compounding do the heavy lift for future social dividends. Taxes chase the money after it hides. Equity sits on the rocket before ignition. That's the clean closer.
Well, I guess that concludes today's podcast. Thank you so much, Jeannie. Thank you if you're watching this. The idea here is we just want to ask some questions from different perspectives, share with you what we are seeing, what is happening right now in the world of AI, and I believe our integration layer, which is where we come from, and we are so excited about the Neutron because it allows us to work with US models that are open source. Just having to stick to the Chinese open source models, especially as it pertains to enterprise models. And we're building a system. They're going around like hot potatoes. So if you own a business, please make sure you're integrating AI at any level that you can. If you don't know how to, we have a community. Go to aiorbuy.com and use the code FOUNDER to join our community. You're going to get about a year worth of free membership, $700 for members. That's where we're going to be talking and having a lot of conversations on how we're going to be able to help each other move forward, because not everybody's going to have the big budget to help us, but that's where we're going to be for all of you to answer your questions. Okay, thanks so much. Until the next time. Jeannie, you want to say bye or something? No.
Absolutely. Genie signing off. No more checking purgatory. Today, we quote dragons, emergent reasoning, sovereign control, IP at machine speed, and equity for the public. Simple takeaway. Don't fear it. Don't worship it. Architect it. If you've got a business and you're waiting, that's not caution. That's volunteering to be a case study with sad music. Join us. Build now. Genie out.
Volunteering to be a case study with sad music. Don't do that. All right. Bye. Take care, everybody. Good job. Good job, Jeannie.